Hi guys, I'm Haze. I'm an artist and speed painter from Malaysia, and today I'm very excited because I'm launching a new brush pack. So this will be my first ever Procreate glitter brush pack that I've created. You can download the brush pack for free in the link in the description below. The portrait that you're looking at now will actually be a demonstration to demonstrate how to use this brush pack in this video. But before I get to the portrait, I would like to share some tips and tricks and techniques on how to use the brushes in the brush pack before we get to the portrait. So let's get started. These are the new glitter brushes that I have created over the past few weeks, and within this pack itself there is also something else. So I've included this cheat sheet, glitter cheat sheet that has all the colors for glitter that you can just pick from. So like this one here is the black glitter that has all the swatches here for you to pick from already from this handy little crystal shape, and at the bottom of the crystal shape is the sample glitter of how it will look like. So you can achieve all these results just from using my brush pack, and today I'm going to show you how to use this glitter brush pack. This one is silver and pink. Where else? This one is red and orange, and then we have green, teal, green and gold here, blue and white here. This is actually white glitter, so this is actually the swatch for the white glitter. And then this one is purple and some funny little unicorn glitter colors here. Okay, so let's talk about the glitter pack a little bit. Oh, by the way, if you update your Procreate, you can now create tags. You can see here there's a take a photo and then add tags here. You can create tags, and you can also create animated files here that animates your layers automatically. Let's just put a shadow color. Yeah, this is a good shadow color, so I'm going to demonstrate the first few ones. So soft powder, soft pigments are like your eyeshadows. You can use them as a base for the glitter. So let's say you have an eye and you need a eyeshadow, so you can just use this for the effect. So you can have this as the base. So they are all very fine and creates a little bit of texture. Okay, so if you look at my brushes, anything with the word brightening, like this one, brightening, for all the brushes, they are all set to normal mode. So for example, if I have this red here, it's actually going to give you exactly this color. But if you use any brightening brushes, it means that it's going to be a brightening brush, and when you use it, even though I'm using the same color, it's actually brightening the whole area. So the first thing that you need to do when you have this brush pack is to know how to turn this on and off for every single brush. So let's just try that on the soft powder. So for soft powder, the default mode is like that. And if you click on the brush, in the general tab, like general, there's a thing called blend mode. You click on it, and then darken, lighten, contrast, different color. Go to lighten, switch it to add. This will switch it to the brightening mode. So same thing, if you want to turn it off, go back to normal. That's it. That's as simple as that. So this brightening mode is really nice to use if you have let's say this kind of color, and then you just switch it here, and then it becomes like instantly brightening on top. You can layer on top of that, of all your powders. So this is how you switch it on and off. Just turn it off. When you use the brightening feature, right, your colors need to be a lot darker to be able to see the color that you want. So I can have, and then the more you paint over it, the brighter it's going to get. So if I keep on tapping on it, it's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter until to a point where it just stops and it becomes fluorescent. So you can use this as your base, and then you have the brightening glitter, which is a lot more sparse. There you go, it's very sparse. Then these four sets here, the first four brushes here are for your base, and then we have the sparse shards, which is 1, 2, 3. So this is for your effects. Okay, so for your effects, you can just, yeah, this is how it looks like. And I believe this does not have a brightening effect. You can change it if you want. But if you're particular about getting a specific color on, you can leave it at normal. So like for example, now I want it to be a bit blue, so I can just switch to blue and get it on. And then I can use, these are all different, they are all the same effect, it's just different shapes. So the first sparse shards, right, it will have it's just a geometric effect. And then the glitter is basically just a rounder effect, so it's different kind of sparkle. And then stars, of course you get stars, so you can have your stars if you want. So let's say I want my stars in purple, but I can't see it now. So when you put on the color and you can't see it, that's when you need to change it to the brightening mode. But a great tip is that if you find that you can't see your sparkles and everything, it means that you've gone too light too quickly, or your skin is too light. So if I just turn down the brightness, and then now everything pops again. You need to control the color of the skin. It needs to be dark enough for you to have a good effect when it comes to putting glitter on your skin. So for example, this is the color that I have now, and I want you to compare between these two. I will use the same color, but instead of using this color, I'm going to make it more saturated. Same tone, more saturated. Okay. So now we have two squares, and we're going to do some glitter on it. So first thing first, I'm going to give it a soft pigment, maybe something darker to give it as a base, and then I'm going to brighten it a little bit. Okay, now we can continue testing. So I'm using the sparse stars, but then of course the colors aren't showing up. So to get it to show up, I can either change to a lighter color, or I turn on the add mode, then the stars start showing up. Okay, after that we have what I call all the basics. So we just ignore the juicy sparkles for now. So the basic glitter is something that is extremely controllable, so you can use it to paint with your brush. It responds to pen pressure. And then let me just guide you through the differences. So this is the organic ones, and then this one has hearts in them. So just, yeah, this one has hearts, and this one is just round shapes. And then this one is made of hexagon, because a lot of glitter has hexagon flicks in them, so it's nice to have hexagon. And then this is a mix of everything, so depending on what you want to use, you can just choose accordingly. Maybe I'll just use the mix for now. And then be careful about the size of the sparkles in relation to your painting. You don't want them too big or too small. You want them just nice to look like a glitter size. Okay, so now I want it to be a fluorescent, so I'm just going to change it to the add mode. You can use the tints for highlights if you want really strong colors from my color palette that you can download. So the tints for highlights are really good because every single one gives you a different color. So this was the first one. So every single one is all tailored to give you a different color across the rainbow colors. So there you go, you have your basic mix glitter. And then after that we have the texturizer. The two texturizers are actually just for highlights as with a skin texture on it. So if I want skin texture, I can just use this tool to create texture instead of just painting them on, which would make the skin a bit too smooth. Then it wouldn't be realistic. There's two of them, so you can mix and match. It responds very well to pressure, so they're good for laying down like soft textures. Like, let me show you. Like you see, the whole face is full of textures, so it's good to have these are the textures. I'm turning them on and off now. So these are the textures. So you can use those brushes to create those textures that is not uniform, so that it looks a lot more natural. Then we have the juicy sparkles. These are like sparkles you can put at like the corner of the eye, on your lips, that will look natural. So instead of drawing on all these individually, I can now put them on with this brush fairly easily, and I can just erase what I don't want. So let me just create a layer, and I can just erase what I don't want, and I have more highlights already. I can also use the same juicy sparkles. It's the same one as the bottom featured highlight round. I can put them where I want highlights. So one here, one here, one here, and then on the eye as well. So they're really easy to use, and you can even use it on the lips or on the corner of the mouth. Then we have our highlights freestyle. But the only thing is, when you use this brush, it needs to be on the same layer. If you're using the brush on add mode, it needs to be on the same layer, or else you will not get the effect. So for example, I'm using it on a blank layer here, and the effect is something like that. But if I'm on the actual layer, it actually blends with the rest of the portrait. So you gotta use it on the actual layer itself. So there you go. Can use it to highlight. It's really easy to use. All you have to do is change the opacity. So if you use it lower, then it gives you like a slight highlight. So I can even highlight this again. So really versatile brush here. So this is the brush that you should use for any highlights. And then we also have these featured highlights. So featured highlights are highlights that you put one at a time. So like for example, the last one, you just put one, and then you place it, you rotate it, you make it larger, you know, and you don't use them as like a brush like that, okay? So you just use one of it. So same with the rest, are just different shapes that you can use for the eyes. And the hexagon are like hexagon is the same hexagon brush that highlight glitter that you can use to specifically place them at some spots of your drawing to give the effect that you want. In terms of control, this is all arranged according to that. So the first four ones are all compact powders, so you think of them as eyeshadows. And then these are the shards, the sparse shards. They are all very scattered. And then after that, you can put on all your basic glitter. Basic glitter has more control than the sparse ones. And of course, the ones that you get the most control is the featured brushes, that you can just specifically place things exactly where you want them to be. For example, I have, okay, let's say I want to put a highlight here, and I can just keep on layering. It will keep randomizing the position and the rotation of the brush so that it gives it a very natural glow. So you can use it to pile up highlights easily this way, but this one is not going to do so. It's also going to be okay, but it gives you a different effect. So this is like for like piling up and for like specific locations of the brushes that you want to put. So let's say I want to put one here, and I just keep piling up until I get the effect that I want. So that's when you get things that are really glowing this way. Okay, enough of the intermission of this glitter brush pack tutorial. You can just download it and try it yourself.
So now we are ready to start our portrait today, which will demonstrate even more techniques for this glitter brush pack. And now I'm going to start sketching this portrait first. But I'm not going to talk so much this time because you've seen me sketch so many times. I'll only say something if there's something important I want to say and share with you guys. So if you feel that there's something wrong with your drawing, you can always just try flipping your drawing horizontally across to check if there's something wrong. So this way you can catch any mistake that you cannot see previously. Regarding the jawline, there's something you can do to change it if you don't like how it looks like. If you want to make it more masculine, you can make it a little bit more angular like this. Then the more angular, the more masculine it is. But on the other hand, if you want it to be more feminine, you can round it up this way. So the rounder it is, the more feminine it will look, especially if it's V-shaped. So now we'll begin coloring it in with the grayscale, and the first thing I want to do is to put a base on. It's a flat gray that I think represents the skin tone no value. After that, I will make a mask, and then I start by giving some details to the neck, and just the neck only. And then now I just make the mask for the face, and I'm filling in the details for the tone no values for the face. I'm actually just using the airbrush, which is a very soft brush, and I'm moving from one tone to the next so that I don't skip tones, because once I skip tones, everything is going to get very patchy and messy. So I make sure to go from my skin tone to dark, and then from my skin tone to light. So once I'm done with the basic blocking, what I'm going to do is I just go back to my line layer and adjust the colors, and I'm also giving it more detail on the line layer instead of on the coloring layer. So this way I can keep my new changes separate. And now I'm doing the ears and giving the tonal values back in it, and I'm just doing the detailing part for the ears. So I first use the airbrush to put on the soft edges, and after that I will use the sketch brush to put on the hard edges. Always soft edges first and then hard edges. Now we move on to the eye, and we will begin by cleaning up the lines, making sure the lines have the correct tonal value, putting on the highlights, reshaping the shapes of the elements within. Always remember that when you're drawing wrinkles, where there is a shadow, there must be a highlight. So if you draw a dark line, there has to be a highlighted line on top or beneath it. Also, you want to make sure that your iris are perfectly round. Now we're just cleaning up some edges at the nose and modeling the nose to make sure it has the shape that it is supposed to be. For the lips, don't be surprised if parts of the lips have the exact same tonal value with your skin. It is not unusual, so you should not ever have a harsh outline around your lips. Parts of it are actually the same tonal value as your skin. Now I'm just blocking in the hair with a flat brush. This is a default Procreate flat brush in the painting brush set. And then after that, I am smudging the blocking just now that I did. Now I'm using the hair brush from my brush set, the original Portrait brush set, to put in all the hair details. So these are great for doing bunches of hair together, because you don't have to do each and every single strand separately. So you can quickly model your hair this way. So now we're ready to begin coloring. And to begin coloring, I will actually duplicate a layer in case I make any mistakes, and I will use a saturation brush. Picking a color from my color palette, I would start coloring with the biggest brush possible. Before that, we're going to turn alpha mode on. So we don't want any of the grays to remain, so we want to see that if there are any grays left, we must choose to eliminate them unless we are reserving the grays there for a purpose. So the only way we can get the correct color is by comparison after our application. So right now, after I place this first color on, I can obviously see that it is too yellow, so we will switch to a redder tone. So after this application, it is clear that we need to be a lot more saturated than this. We would have to pick a stronger color So right now I've been using whatever I have on my highlights. I can actually choose to pick a stronger color. So if some of you have not been getting strong enough a color, it's because you were using color that were too muted. But we always like to start to color the face with a more muted tone instead of immediately going for something strong. Bear in mind that the upper lip is always grayer and lighter or darker depending. The top lip and the bottom lip is completely different. And to get things to be black again, if you use orange, would be to use the opposite color. And then of course we will find that some places are not as dark as it should be. We can make the necessary adjustments. If you'd like to know more about which color to use for which part of the face, you can refer to my tutorial that comes bundled with the color palette. As for the hair, we're gonna reset it. Some sort of purple tint first. Purple is a cool hair color. When I dyed my hair last time, I used to bleach them and dye them in purple all the time. Because purple is a natural opposite color when it comes to yellow, so it's like a godsend for Asians like us who wants to bleach their hair and get rid of the yellow undertones. And purple is always the color to remove the yellow instead of giving it a grey look. Okay, our hair is ready. Okay, we're done coloring, and now we can begin the process of putting in the effects using our new brushes. It's gonna be exciting. So now we'll start by detailing the eyes. I'm gonna make a new layer and use my brushes for the pupil. Okay, once I feel like I have the size that I want, I'm gonna position them, duplicate the layer and put it for the next eye. And then we're just gonna merge down and we'll erase the parts we don't want. I think I'll adjust the color and change the color. Okay, now we'll make another layer. Duplicate and place it on the other side again. And we'll merge and erase the parts we don't want. I think I'll change the bottom one to be darker. Okay, last layer. Okay, I think this is how I want her eyes to be. So we'll merge everything and we can do one last edit before we merge down. And now we can work on the hair. First we'll work on her eyebrows. We'll give some stray hairs for realism. Now as usual, when you're doing the eyebrows, you have to be mindful about the directions of the hair. Okay, I want to finish retouching her nose before we move on to anything else. If you're okay with everything, we can merge down. Now we can begin using our new brushes. First one I want to talk about is this one, the featured highlights freestyle. So first we're going to make sure that the blend mode is on add. And we can use the shadows, color palette to get the colors that we want. And in areas that we want it to be more bright, we can just pile it there and paint the area again and again. We can also use different colors on top of existing ones. Now before we continue, I want to put some textures onto her face. So I'm going to use the new Texturizer and make sure that the blend mode is normal. I'm going to just do this softly. So I have a variant of 2 brushes, and you can just use another one if you want something different. Remember, you can always switch the blending mode to add if you want it to brighten up and have a brightening effect. Now I'm going to use the freckle brush from my original brush pack, and this is on multiply mode, so we're going to put some freckles here and there. Okay, let's finish up our nose now that our skin is done. So I have this on low opacity. So just using the same brush, I just keep dabbing on the same spot to get the intensity that I want. And then I can change color. I want something colder. You can also use this brush, any of this featured brush, to do something of the same. So let's say I'm using this hexagon brush. I'm gonna put a highlight here. So I just dab on the area a few times to get the intensity that I want. And we'll finish the lips off with more details to bring out the highlights. For example, where there is a highlight, there has to be a shadow. And now let's use the freehand selection tool to do some highlights. I've been thinking of doing something like this for the eye, so let's see if it will work. I think I should just do one eye first in case I don't like it. So I'm going to duplicate this layer in case I don't like the results. For now, I'm just going to do the other eye first. So this featured highlights brush is very good for doing highlights of any shape that you want. So it's very easy to use. You can also use some of the other feature highlights to put in other shapes that you want if you like to. But for now, I just want to finish off the lashes. So I can use these featured highlights and put some random highlights here to suggest specularity. I can smudge some of the eyelashes to simulate some shadow. I can also use the burn tool to do that. So to suggest a powder, I can use this soft pigment or soft powder here to suggest eyeshadow. I'm using it to give a texture to simulate eyeshadow. And now we are ready to experiment on the other eye. So I'm going to finish the iris and the specularity first. So when doing the highlights for the eyes, make sure that both of them are similar. Okay, let's proceed to the experiment because I'm very excited. So, I have a cheat sheet that I already saved down, and I can just pick the colors that I want. So now I want to get the colors for the glitter that I have here. Okay, I have my color palette here. I'm going to remove this because I don't need this.
So I'm going to show you how I'm going to use this color palette to do the glitter for the eyes. I'm going to start by using some sparse shots. So this is a very random brush. I'm going to start by throwing in some sort of a base for this glitter that we have, that we're going to try to recreate. And then after that, I'm going to erase the parts I don't want. Now this is a very random brush, so now we're going to move on to something that has more control. So let's use the basic brushes. I'm going to use the hexagon. I'm going to make sure I choose the correct brush size to simulate the size of the glitter. Now I'm going to remove the ones I don't want. And right beneath this layer, I'm going to modify the eye a little bit. And we're going to leave it like this for now, and we'll see what happens later. Now I'm going to use something that has even more control, which is this hexagon brush, to do the individual glitter. And I'm going to start now. Now we're going to merge down, and using the same brush, we're going to change it to add, and we're going to pile it on top so that it's getting brighter and brighter each time. I'm going to use my fingers for this so that it's more accurate. And I'm going to use the featured highlights that I was using just now to give a little blur. Now I'm going to use the brightening sparkle just over it. Okay, now because I have this on another layer, so I can selectively select this, duplicate, and I can actually delete this layer and still have the glitter. You see I have it here. So now what I want to do is I want to warp this a little bit because the glitter looks a little bit flat. But I can't see anything, so I'm gonna erase away the eye first. Let's do that again. Okay, now I think we can work on the eyeshadow. Using this pigment brush, I'm going to apply it onto the eyes as if they are eyeshadow. Now for the eyelashes. Not bad. Now for the cheeks. Let's put some color onto the cheek. And now we're gonna do the highlights for the cheekbone. So first we're gonna lay the foundation with some brightening sparkles. And then we are just gonna keep on piling on top. We can also do the same for the brow bone. So these two effects are really subtle, and you can use them easily to make highlights anywhere on the face, because I find that they simulate powder really well.
To create the stars, I draw one star and then I duplicate them one by one in every layers, and then I transform them, so I squash them, I place them around the eye, and after I create all of them, I merge them all, and then now I start to draw the moon. Just 2 moon is enough. Now I give all of them a white color, and some of them should be darker than the rest, and then some should have a shadow which is dark red. So now I duplicate a layer, and beneath it is I blur the layer to create the shadow. I offset it, and some of the layers I draw a highlight, and then I create another layer and I pull it to red, and then this layer I remove the alpha, and then I blur it, and I use it on add mode in order to create like a glow. I also switch it to blue in order to give a glow effect.
So I'll think I'll end like this today. Well, I hope you will have fun using this pack here. There's certainly a lot you can do. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and the free brush pack. Also right now I'm finally on ArtStation. Follow me if you haven't, and I will see you again soon. Bye.